Good evening and welcome to WEHO Sports. My name is Raul Alonso and I'm your host. Today I have a very exciting show for you. We have an artist by the name of MVP Ernest Washington. He has done work for more than 20 athletes, including celebrities like Lamar Odom, Regina King, Taraji P, and some of the people that have his artwork are Jim Hill, Norm Nixon, and plenty of others. So, welcome, Mr. Ernest Washington.
Thank you, Raul.
Now, I saw you at the King celebration.
Yes.
You know, and I saw you doing some of this work, and it grabbed my attention, and I'm sure like thousands of others that were walking through. How did you manage to concentrate to do such a nice work when you have all these thousands of people walking by and seeing you working?
Well, I just focus, Raul. You know, I'm used to drawing around large crowds from being inside Fox Skybox in the Staples Center for years, and in the games, and did murals in high school 30 years ago. So I just focus and pay attention to what I'm working on.
And you do different kind of mediums, right?
Yes. Yes.
So what kind of medium is this?
This is acrylic paint.
Okay. That's, I mean, how long did it took you to do a thing like this?
Well, I did it in pencil first, and it takes about 30 minutes to an hour to do it in pencil. But then I'll go over and I'll paint the black uniforms and the white uniforms and the purple uniforms. So, a lot of the fans like it in black and white and all the colors. So I have it pretty much covered.
But you do a lot of different stuff, don't you? You work on different parties. You do characters. You do different kind of work. You just don't base yourself on this, right?
Yes.
Now recently, and LeRoy Neiman passed away, and he was doing more or less the kind of work that you do.
Yes.
And he was well known in all the sports world, and I think you should end up taking his place. in my belief.
Okay.
And I'm sure in your belief too.
All right.
What do you think about his passing and everything he did for people in sports and the artwork?
When I read it in the paper the other day, it was like, wow, almost as big as Michael Jackson passing to me, because in the 70s, I felt like, I could be the next Neiman. I remember him being in the Rocky movies and the paintings of Ali and all the Olympics. And of course, that motivated all of us sports artists to be as successful as he was. And one time I remember them saying just a signed copy of his was worth $1,200. But now that he's passed, it's way more than that now.
Way more.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because his items were either one of a kind. Most of them were one of a kind, correct?
Absolutely.
Just like yours are.
Yes.
Most of them are one of a kind, right?
Yes, sir.
And I went to your website and you had this beautiful picture. And I know that it will bring you a smile, because this is your grandson, isn't he?
Yes, that's my grandson, one of my oldest, to one of my daughters, and she took him trick-or-treating.
Okay.
And I drew that picture, and then I had Regina King and Taraji Henson sign it for me, and I signed Pop Pop, and my daughter has it at her house in Cincinnati.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, and how long did it took you to make a portrait like this?
About 2 hours.
2 hours?
About 2 hours, yeah.
You're pretty fast on everything. Do you ever sell a lot of your paintings, like when you're like in the parades? Because you've been in basically in all that celebration parades. You had done work at the Great Western Forum, at Staples. You've been everywhere.
For a while they had them on display in the Fox Skybox inside Staples Center for 8 years, of Shaq holding Kobe after the championship, Chris Collinsworth, and I think Terry Bradshaw had some work of mine that they signed and put in there. So yeah, I've been around.
How long have you been doing this?
I started when I was about 8 or 9 years old, off the comic books, the Hulk and Superman and them, and my older cousins really could draw better than me. So my first competition was against them. One day I'm going to be as good as they were. They stopped, and I kept going. In 1976, getting in trouble with the cops and all, they said, well, instead of putting him in a home, just put him in an art school. So I went to York Academy of Art in 1976 for one course, and then Cameron University in the Army in 1979. But just 2 courses, but it's been thousands of hours of passionate drawing.
How old were you when you realized this is my path, this is what I love to do?
Yes, you're right. Probably 17 or 18 when I, right before I took the course at Cameron. I just thought I loved to draw, but then, a lot of people say, wow, this is good. And so I kept on. I realized how it affected people, and I just kept drawing.
Yeah, you say comic, and I see you got this picture of the First Lady and the President right here. This is pretty good. I like it.
Thank you.
What motivated you to do a picture like this?
That's American history. Our first non-white or,
first
black
African-American president, right?
And that dance there, wow, it was just, that capitalized the whole celebration.
It was beautiful, right? The only thing is maybe you should have put Beyonce up here because they were dancing. They were dancing to that, right?
We would have to do a revision or something.
Revision, because you're right. That's what I saw. Yeah.
Oh, that would be something.
Because they used to say about Beyonce.
I'm definitely going to do that.
But let's go through some of the most famous people that you have drawn here, and you brought. Obviously, we all know who this is.
Yes,
and
yes. Well, that's one of my favorite pieces there. That's Lennox Lewis. There used to be the L.A. Boxing Club right across from L.A. Trade Tech.
You're right.
And all the famous boxers would come there, and I knew the guy that owned it, Rich, I believe it was.
Right.
Right? Big tall guy.
Right.
And the day before he fought Klitschko, he says, don't say anything, MVP, but Lennox and Emmanuel Stewart will be here training. And everyone else think he's going to Ventura, so don't say nothing. So I came in, and the BBC wouldn't let me in. But the originals, wow, that size by that size in color. So I waited for them to open the door, and when they opened it, I held it up high, and Lennox stood up with his hands wrapped and signaled me in. The BBC was there, and Emmanuel Stewart behind me, and he signed it with his hands wrapped, and we sat side by side. He said, "You aren't going to sell this, are you?" I said, "No, I think I'll keep this champ."
That's worth a pretty penny now, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So those are great stories. Do you get a lot of breaks like that? People let you into a lot of events because of your work and stuff?
Because you just got to be out there. If it's your passion and along with your salesmanship, I learned from construction and my grandfather, those two together, I've got to be there. I want to meet the people.
Now, I believe this is a portrait that this person bought from you, correct? Am I correct?
Yes, that's Lamar Odom. I met him at, what's that called? The Stick and Stein in El Segundo. It was open for 30 years. It just recently closed. And when he was hurt that season.
Right.
And I said, I have a picture of you, Lamar. And he said, yes. I went and got it and showed it to him. Then he told one of his friends, he said, have him draw Jalen for me, his son that died. So the original picture has a picture of Jalen up here in two positions,
that's right.
and Lamar's looking at him.
Okay,
and
nice.
He really appreciated it.
Very nice.
We sat in a van side by side, and I said, I don't know what to charge. He says, anything you want, MVP. So that's what's happening there. But his father's got a copy of that, and he went on ESPN with Jim Lampley with it. So it's in their home now.
Now you've been interviewed by a lot of news, and you've been all over. Tell us who has been some of the people that you've been interviewed by.
Well, I got my name, MVP, from Julie Gould, I believe it was. She was an anchor for Fox 11. And when Carl Malone and that matter of fact, that picture's in there. Carl Malone and Gary Payton had joined the team. And so someone told him there's an artist that hangs in the sports bar. And so she said, we're going to interview you. And they came in with the cameras and said, we have these MVPs here. They said, well, we have another MVP, the most valuable painter. And that's how I got my name. And
I like that. I like that, most valuable painter. How do you feel when she threw that name? Did it lit up a light bulb on top and you said, that should be my name?
It touched me. And it gave me a responsibility that if I'm going to carry that name, I've got to be the next LeRoy Neiman or Steve I forget Steve, that's a big-time sports artist. So yeah, I take it personally.
I mean, to have an accolade like that, to be saved by someone that has been around and done sports and all of that stuff, that's great.
Well, yeah, I greatly apologize. I greatly appreciate it.
And then you have this one from USC. Who signed? Okay. You had everybody in there signing this.
I heard, again, just being around.
Just being around.
Being around a while, and I heard that they're going to have a pep rally. They played Washington State that game, and they had a pep rally in the hall where they had all the trophies, you know, the Heismans. And so I was there, and they went in the locker room, and Pete Carroll came out and signed it, and Matt Leinart signed it, and there's 6 or 7 other players that are in the NFL now. They signed it. So I gave one to Jim Hill, and he has one. So, yeah, I've been around.
How big you make these paintings?
The original was, again, maybe 18 by 12.
By 12?
Yes.
Nice.
Well,
nice.
thank you.
Those are nice. And let's see, we have, of course, some more Kings.
Kopitar, that's game 1.
Game 1?
And the finals.
And the finals.
That's right. When he scored against, when color, you can see the red and the black of the Devils there.
How do you maintain the picture or the image of that shot or what you want to draw?
I usually have photographs of them. And a lot of times I'll study them before I draw it, you know, just to internalize, you know, having played sports, I know what certain materials feel like, and, you know, the passion and the grips of the hands on the, you know, the hockey sticks and all, and then I just draw it.
Now, we were talking earlier about you being everywhere. This picture here has made around the world.
Yes.
How does that make you feel when you draw something and you know that now it's known globally?
Again, internalizing Michael Jackson from when we were small. My sister got one of his first albums when he was about 9 or 10. He had a tam hat and an afro. And knowing Michael Jackson all my life, it wasn't hard for me to transfer my passion and ability into a picture. And, you know, that famous one there, when they were leaning forward.
Right.
Again, I've got 2 or 3 hours in that, but yeah, I'm proud of that. You know, to transfer what he did to the world from my perspective.
So when you decide to make a painting like this, do you just grab anything and start drawing if you don't have your sketch with you, or how do you go about it?
Sometimes I do. I'll draw on the back of, you know, paper that someone threw away because I've got to get it.
Right.
And I go through many photos to find the one that I believe would touch people. You know, and that's from studying Norman Rockwell. You know, he's the master at that.
He sure is. We're going to go through some more pictures.
Quickly, that was in the Fox Skybox. They gave me a little glass booth I was in, and I knew all the Spark fans, the Kings fans, the Lakers, the Clippers, you know, concerts. I was there 4 or 5 days a week, every day for like 8 years. And a woman that was a missionary from Mexico said, I have a little orphan girl that I want to draw. And she never came back. You know, she got lost, maybe she forgot about it. But I've had that picture 10 to 12 years. And that's a picture of a little Mexican orphan that a missionary had down in Mexico. So
wow,
that's pretty personal.
So those every picture has a different meaning for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, I believe that's what an artist has to do, is to, you know, to put his passion into the drawings.
Now, putting passion into the drawing. So, if you're in a bad mood that day, does your picture show darkness? Does it change? Depending on how you're feeling and the mood of the day, does the picture change?
Absolutely, absolutely. I try not to draw, you know, in that mood, but I will. I'll draw strange stuff, you know.
What is some of the darkest stuff that you have drawn?
Yeah, well, let's see. I can't even think of any. You know, I'll draw. Well, I did one recently here of 2 birds. You know, one threw a punch and the other one slipped. Then he threw a punch and you can see the bird's head going like that. And then the one that slipped threw a punch straight up and the bird's face is up. Then he wins the prize, a piece of bread. So,
an uppercut.
He flies away with the bread.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, that's how I...
It's not so dark. It's just a little bit. We're fighting and stuff.
It's silly sometimes.
but That's what artists do, isn't it?
Yes.
You have a different vision than what I have and what other people have.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes, and speaking of that, one picture I did during a tough time like that was it Pete Sampras?
Oh, Pete Sampras, yeah.
Him and his father. You know, after he won a title, he embraced his father real, you know, oh, I drew that one during a downtime. And then there's Pastor Chip Murray. His last sermon at the church he preaches at, there was a homeless man. Now, he preached at this church for 27 years. It was in the paper. And the ushers wouldn't let the homeless man in. And he says, that's what I preached for 27 years, to love everybody. He had the homeless man come in and sit on the pulpit with him, and he hugged him. And that's what I'll draw when I'm down, pictures like that.
See, those are pretty powerful message there. Both of them, one hugging his father, you know, and father feeling so proud of his son winning a championship, and the son feeling proud of the dad, and the other one, you know, having him sitting in the pulpit. That's totally different.
That's what art
things, and that's why I said you pick up different things than what we picked up.
Yes. Yes.
So, what about this picture right here?
It was a picture I seen. I guess I lie a lot about it. People say, who is that? I say, that's my granddaughter. But it's a picture I seen years ago, and with the country hat and the flannel shirt. And she was actually looking at another boy with a popsicle, looking at his popsicle. She's holding hers. But like Norman Rockwell, again, I just focus on, you know, the eyes and the picture itself and let it speak for itself. So.
Now, who have you not drawn that you want to make a painting out?
Wow, I've done most of my heroes. Randall Cunningham. He's a hero of mine. I haven't done him yet. And I'm like that for some reason. And George Foreman, my main heroes, I haven't drawn them yet. I have to wait for the right time. And those two.
Have you ever drawn like soccer, like David Beckham?
Yes,
I think
I did Beckham with an African child. He was in
Africa.
Oh,
that's right.
And a child was holding a flower. Beckham was looking at him real, you know, intensely. And it showed a side of Beckham that people don't know. I did draw one of him kicking a ball. Of course, Pele. And there's another one that plays for Brazil. Is it Brazil?
Who, Ronaldo?
Yep. For a guy that works down at LA Live. He wanted me to draw it, and I drew it for him. So.
Nice. Yeah. And some of these people have your paintings? Is that correct?
Bob Baffert, Victor Espinoza, Kent Ersoma. I used to go to the racetrack during the, what do they call the races where they run 3 races?
The Triple Crown?
Triple Crown. And I drew Victor Espinoza when he won with War Emblem. And he, you know, signed one for me, and I gave him one, and I gave one to Bob Baffert to put in his office. And then Kent Ersoma. So I just love sports, man.
You do love sports, I see. Now, this picture right here, I'm sure a lot of people out there know who he is. How do you came about drawing him?
John Wooden dominated college basketball, and you've got to put icons like that in your collection. I mean, 11 or 12 championships, and you know, then with Jabbar there, others, and again, like Joe Paterno, his life was dedicated to that program. So they're heroes. And you got to draw our heroes.
Because we were talking about that, Joe Paterno, and same thing with Wooden and UCLA.
Yes, that's right.
He basically transformed the art of basketball in college.
Yes, he did. Yes, he
Just
did.
like Paterno in football, he did it in basketball.
They're great guys.
And I don't think there will be another coach to get to his accolades.
I tell you what, as far as Pat Summitt in women's basketball, but it's going to take a while.
In men's basketball, I don't think there will be someone that will win all those championships in a row,
and dominate,
dominated like that.
Right. I don't believe it's going to be a while if it is.
This is great, though. Have you got any offers since he passed of the paintings? What do you do with paintings like of them that have passed away?
You know, I wanted to get out and get him to sign it before he passed, but I never did make it, and I just hold on to it now. Now, you know, with talking to you, sure, I got to go to UCLA and get it to someone, and maybe they can make it a part of the college.
I think they would love to have that as part of the college, as big as he is. He was in the stands until he
That's right.
went.
Yeah.
I used to see him in the stands, whether he wasn't coaching anymore, but he was there cheering them on, and basically some of the coaches used to turn to him for advice while the game was going on, and I'm thinking to myself, why don't you just put him back in? but I guess he knew what he was doing, and he did it for so many years and stuff, and to get back to that stage, it's gonna be hard.
You're right. It may take a long time for another John Wooden.
I don't think it will ever happen.
It may not. It may not.
But what about Miss
Tequila Deal? One of my favorite heroes. There's a cook that worked in the skybox, and he bought one of the colored versions. And I came in one day. He says, "MVP, Shaq signed your picture." Now Lamar and Shaq and Dr. J are my 3 favorite players. And so I'm like, "What'd he say, man?" He says, "Who drew this?" all loud. Then he signed it and said, "This is real good." So I went out to the training facility the next day and held a picture up. He was in his car. He pointed and said, "Nice," and he went on. So I'm satisfied with that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, Shaq signed one of the pictures.
He's actually a really, really nice guy.
The best. Buys toys for kids, works with the police, right?
He wants to be a mayor, I think, of a town.
He could be mayor of this city.
That's why he went and he got his. No, he's already a policeman, right. But he wants to really run the whole city.
Do it.
So I think he can do it.
Every team that Shaq
won. I'd be scared if he comes down the street. Like, I didn't do anything, sir.
Here it is.
Yeah. Take whatever I took. I'd be scared.
No problem. No
he
problem.
He's a huge man.
A big giant. A gentle giant.
He is.
He's a good guy, and he'd do a good job,
Now, the Dodgers. You have a few pictures here of the Dodgers, and they're from different eras.
Yes.
So we'll start with this one because this one is probably the oldest one.
Speaking of eras, that's what artists' job, their main job is for contemporary times. As we talk about Rockwell, his paintings were during, the 30s and 40s.
Right.
You could tell the wood clothes, the leather shoes. There's a couple of people spanking kids, which nowadays we couldn't do that.
You can't do that, right? No, you go to jail.
Yeah, so contemporary, we say who's the best basketball player, who's the best baseball. You got to go by eras. You got to consider the games, the number of games in the season, the athleticism, and the things present. So that's Steve Yeager of the, 83 Dodgers.
I remember.
The MVP. Down in Marina Del Rey, I met a guy who has a classic collectibles sports shop, and he had Ollie's trunks in there, signed Cassius Clay worth $100,000. He had all these very famous paintings, and I had a picture of Shaq, and so I put that in there. And Steve Yeager was there that day. I hadn't had the picture done yet, but he was going to sign it, and I never did get it done in time. But the picture of Shaq, he said, all this expensive stuff I have in here, people come in and buy that picture more than they do the other ones. So.
Well, there's certain players that draw more attention than others, and depending on what sport they are and how much they contribute to the community.
That, yeah. And then the art, the artist, how it affects people, like we're talking about Neiman, his style, and Van Gogh and his style. And can't forget Ernie Davis.
Right.
His pictures on Good Times and all very influential to me. He also motivated me that one day I could have my picture on a wall, on a TV show or something.
I'm sure you will. You've done a lot of stuff. So now here, was this when they won their championship?
That's when Gagne, just after one of his games, he obliterated Ty Cobb's record. 39 saves, he got 88.
Right.
And that's just phenomenal. If he did it by a couple, it'd be, but 88 saves, and that's the intensity we need for sports.
And Mr. Dyer over there, what was his ERA?
Yeah, he knows.
He probably knows that. Come on, Mr. Dyer, tell us.
I do not know his ERA, but that's Eric Gagne.
88 saves, huh?
And then we have this one, which is the one that's hot right now.
Mr. Kemp.
He just got hurt.
Yes, and we're doing bad without him, too.
Yeah.
We're doing bad.
We are going down the drain.
It takes time for the team to step up, those guys to make it happen until he gets back.
But the Dodgers have changed since Magic took over.
Yeah.
They literally have, they were in first place for a long time. Right now they're going through a little drought, and, it happens. In baseball,
Absolutely.
it happens like that. You know, you got those long streaks of winning 15, 20
Absolutely.
games, and then you got the long streaks of losing 15,
Yeah.
20 games, so you end up
160 games or something.
So we have one more
Oh.
of USC.
That's actually that's RG3, Robert
Okay.
Griffin. He's already in the
Oh,
Washington Redskins
Washington. What am I?
jersey.
It looks like almost USC
It does.
colors, because they are. That's
It
almost the
does look
same
like
color.
it.
So,
You know, I try to draw players in other uniforms before they get there. Like Gary Payton, I had him in the Lakers. I have him there. I have for the Colts. What's that quarterback's name that just went there?
Manny.
No, the new one. Well, I have him already in blue and white. They just recruited him last year with RG3. Anyway, I have
slipped
him
my
in,
mind.
from Stanford. From Stanford, the quarterback they just hired. Well, anyway, I already have him in the Colts uniform, and now I'm waiting to hear if Nash or whoever's going to be in, the Lakers uniform. I'll go ahead and do that. So it's just part of salesmanship.
Wow. I think we have gone through almost all of the
Yeah, we did.
pictures that you brought. This is great, and now you have some Celtics here.
Those are classics because Ray Allen's going to be somewhere, and we have him in the Celtics with Pierce, but he's not going to be there.
Well, we were talking about Pierce, that he's from LA, and he
Yeah.
ended up playing in
Boston.
in Boston, and now he don't want to know anything about LA.
No.
It's like, wait a minute, you grew up here. What's wrong with you?
Part of sports, isn't it?
You know,
It's
but
weird.
that's what
Loyalty.
sport does. Loyalty.
Loyalty.
Loyalty really
Intensity.
kind of screws you up and
Yeah.
stuff. But that's part of the sports world, you know.
That's right.
And we're
a good one.
basically.
Iron Man.
Let's show something different before we go.
I did that of Lamar Odoms. It's actually in purple and gold, but I ended up doing Kevin Durant signed one, and I did the whole NFL, so I've got a lot of pictures of Iron Man with different jerseys and stuff.
This is a great picture. Well, we got to go, and thank you,
Thank
Ernest,
you.
for being here
All
and
right.
Showing us all your artwork.
Well, thank you for having me.
Best of success,
All right.
and please come back and see us again.
It'd be a pleasure, and I plan on being that next Neiman. So
And
you
I'm
heard it
going to
here.
push the issue
All
because
right,
you
well,
should be the next
Okay.
Neiman. See you later, everybody, next week. Same time, same channel.
Rock.